Hello and welcome to the Sketching Greyhound. I'm your host and my dog is possessed by a demon. But while the exorcist is on his way, let's talk about Big Bang Theory and Kaley Cuoco. I used the time I got because of the pandemic as productively as I humanly possibly could. So naturally I watched a lot of Big Bang Theory, mostly to fall asleep. But still I noticed a lot of things in the series, good as well as bad, that I feel the need to talk about. And while I did not want to talk behind the series back, I thought I'll put it out on the internet. And I have to say I really love the series. It is definitely not perfect. There are even quite problematic areas, but I love it really dearly, like a friend that you love so much that it is again okay to roast the shit out of it. What was that? Seems like we're still a family-friendly channel. So let's jump right into it. Fair warning, there will be spoilers ahead. I don't think that is, with this kind of series, a big issue, but if you don't like that, but you still want to see the picture, you can still mute the audio. And I will always put in a warning before I show something from future episodes and future seasons.
So if a photon is directed through a plane with two slits in it and either slit is observed, it will not go through both slits. If it's unobserved, it will. However, if it's observed after it's left the plane but before it hits its target, it will not have gone through both slits.
Agreed. What's your point?
There's no point. I just think it's a good idea for a t-shirt.
This is the very first joke of the Big Bang Theory. I have to say it's really not especially good, but it somehow sets already the scene for the series pretty well. It shows you they are pretty smart, they are a little bit different, and they are quite nerdy. And that also opens up directly one of the main conflicts of the series. And the main struggles for the writers. They really do not always manage to not make fun of their main characters. You feel that they try to be respectful, make you laugh with them, but they definitely not always succeed.
Can I help you?
Yes. Is this the high IQ sperm bank?
If you have to ask, maybe you shouldn't be here.
I seriously love this actress. Her name is Vernie Watson-Johnson, and she definitely also qualifies probably for a portrait in the future. She plays a nurse about 6 times in the series, and as it's always a nurse, but changing working places, I'm pretty sure it's the same character. And funnily enough, she also played the role of a nurse in another of Chuck Lorre's series, 2.5 Men, if you've heard of that one.
Leonard, I don't think I can do this.
What are you kidding? You're a semi-pro.
This is an interesting one. It doesn't even take 2 minutes to get to a joke that does not really fit with the characterizations of the nerds at a later point in time. Sheldon is always described as very asexual in every way. Leonard saying this is indicating that he is spending a lot of time with the activity they are talking about. With how we get to know Sheldon later, this does not make any sense at all. But it's also pretty typical, I would say. They did not 100% know where to go with the characters yet, and they noticed that a lot of things worked very well regarding Sheldon's character because of how Jim Parsons played him so iconically as he did, and also because of popular reception, obviously. And therefore the character grew differently than they expected in the beginning. And you can argue 2 ways here actually. You can say they should have stayed true to what their vision was, or you can applaud them for adapting to what seems to work better than what they originally planned. Either way, this is kind of a continuity error.
We are committing genetic fraud. There's no guarantee that our sperm is going to generate high IQ offspring. Think about that. I have a sister with the same basic DNA mix who hostesses at Fuddruckers.
And next to that continuity error, we actually have the first family information about the character that will hold true and will be a constant. Sheldon's sister.
If some poor woman is going to pin her hopes on my sperm, what if she winds up with a toddler who doesn't know if he should use an integral or a differential to solve for the area under a curve?
I'm sure she'll still love him.
I wouldn't.
And also something that will stay forever with us, Sheldon's complete and utter lack of empathy.
Bye.
Nice meeting you.
I love her.
You want to hear an interesting thing about stairs?
Not really.
Another thing that happened very early on that will happen constantly. Sheldon will provide his friends and us with a lot of fun facts, unrequested and unwanted.
New neighbor?
Evidently.
Significant improvement over the old neighbor.
200-pound transvestite with a skin condition? Yes, she is.
First appearance of Penny, and something else that will hold true. We will hear more about that aforementioned tenant and even get to know him.
Oh, hi.
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 You know, in humor, I'm a big fan of referencing things that have happened before, referencing another joke and continuing it therefore, but there should be a limit how often you repeat something.
Oh, hi.
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 Hi. Hi.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi. Oh, great.
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 Great. Well, bye.
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 Please bear in mind that we have just crossed the 4-minute mark at this point. But if they hadn't repeated it that much, perhaps it would not have been as funny to reuse it and therefore reference it a little later in the series.
Hello.
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 And is that a good thing, repeating jokes? I think in this case it actually is, because they're using it unobtrusive in a way to draw parallel lines between two situations, and it's not so on the nose. They don't spell it out to you. If you recognize it, it's a nice nod to this situation.
We don't mean to interrupt. We live across the hall.
Oh, that's nice.
Oh, no, we don't live together. I mean, we live together, but in separate heterosexual bedrooms.
This is also kind of a common theme. Homosexuality is only referenced in context of a joke, sometimes even borderline respectless.
Guess I'm your new neighbor, Penny.
Oh, Leonard, Sheldon.
Hi.
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 Should we have invited her for lunch?
No, we're gonna start season 2 of Battlestar Galactica.
Why is there even a laughing track? Where's the joke? They're starting to watch another season of Battlestar Galactica. Is that funny? Is it funny that they prefer to do that instead of inviting Penny for dinner? Sometimes the laughing track in Big Bang Theory is really bad.
So you're like one of those beautiful mind genius guys.
Yeah.
Is that a flirty Sheldon? I'm almost thankful that we haven't seen that very often. Another indication of that they did not yet know how asexual Sheldon would actually be later on.
Do you guys mind if I start?
Penny. That's where I sit.
And there we have it. Probably the biggest constant of the known universe. Sheldon's spot.
In the winter, that seat is close enough to the radiator to remain warm, and yet not so close as to cause perspiration. In the summer, it's directly in the path of a cross breeze created by opening windows there and there. I think I've made my point.
Even this definition stays pretty constant.
No, you see in the winter that seat is close enough to the radiator so that he's warm, yet not so close that he sweats. In the summer, it's directly in the path of a cross breeze created by opening windows there and there.
Definitely one of my favorite references of a joke already made in the series. They adjusted it a little bit to how Penny actually speaks, changing some of the more Sheldon-y words. Love it.
I'm a Sagittarius, which probably tells you way more than you need to know.
Yes, it tells us that you participate in the mass cultural delusion that the sun's apparent position relative to arbitrarily defined constellations at the time of your birth somehow affects your personality.
Scenes like this instill the utmost respect for Jim Parsons in me for what he had to learn and act in this role. But let's move on a little bit. We learn about Penny. She works in the Cheesecake Factory. She comes from Nebraska. Things that all stay constant. A lot of jokes focus on the contrast between the nerds and Penny.
4 years? That's like as long as high school.
It took you 4 years to get through high school?
And she tells them about her ex-boyfriend Kurt, which we will also meet in more than one episode.
Paradoxes are part of nature. Think about light. Now, if you look at Huygens, light is a wave, as confirmed by the double-slit experiments. But then, along comes Albert Einstein and discovers that light behaves like particles, too. Well, I didn't make it worse.
Kind of a Big Bang Theory trope. One of the nerds explains something in the most complicated way to a normal person. You would think that they are smart enough to learn that that does not really work. Oh well.
Top of everything else, I'm all gross from moving. My stupid shower doesn't even work.
Our shower works.
Really? Would it be totally weird if I used it?
Yes.
No.
I have to kind of agree with Sheldon though. And there she goes, without further directions, without a towel, without clothes to change into, not even underwear. Isn't that kind of weird?
Yes.
Well, let's move on.
It has been some time since we've had a woman take her clothes off in our apartment.
That's not true. Remember at Thanksgiving, my grandmother with Alzheimer's had that episode?
Is there any definition of Meemaw that I'm not aware of? I couldn't find any. But if it in general only means grandmother, then we have a continuity error. Because in a later episode, we learn that Leonard's grandmother died when he was 4.
You have your own Meemaw. Not my fault she died when you were 4.
And it didn't sound like there was another one. Might be a little bit nitpicky, but that's what I'm doing here.
And you want us out because you're anticipating coitus?
I'm not anticipating coitus.
So she's available for coitus?
Can we please just stop saying coitus?
Technically, that would be coitus interruptus.
The first appearance of Howard and Raj. They are actually pretty close already to how they will be characterized later on. Howard is using unnecessarily complicated words like coitus here, which he won't do anymore in the future. So technically he is listening to Leonard in this situation. And Raj is wearing a cap that he is losing pretty soon.
Enchanté, mademoiselle. You may be familiar with some of my work. It's currently orbiting Jupiter's largest moon, taking high-resolution digital photographs.
Howard bragging and creepily flirting with any woman he can find. Check. Constant. So Penny enlists Leonard to get her TV back from her ex-boyfriend. Sheldon joins him on this quest, and that gives us a lot more opportunities for jokes, establishing the cliché nerdiness of our two protagonists.
Come on, you know how it is with breakups.
No, I don't. And neither do you.
But I broke up with Joyce Kim
You did not break up with Joyce Kim. She defected to North Korea.
to mend her broken heart.
The story around Joyce Kim will actually be expanded.
So, you guys work with Leonard and Sheldon at the university?
And while we're at it, why not stay with the clichés? The nerd that can't talk to women. In this case, actually literally. He has selective mutism. We'll learn a little bit more about that. That also has some development, a little bit cliché, and the source of a lot of jokes in the coming episodes. Penny's ex-boyfriend Kurt is also very clearly presented as a juxtaposition to the physicality of the nerds.
Yeah?
And of course, the nerds have to go home pantsless.
My mom bought me those pants.
I'm sorry.
And with this image, we will leave our nerds for today. Those are just some of my thoughts about the first episode. It is definitely not the best episode. It really does not play to the strength of what the show has to offer later on. But that's so often the case that the first episode does not really indicate what a series will become. And this is our Penny. I really hated it in between, and I struggled really to get it to a place where I am okay with it. I'm not really mega happy. I'm not the happiest person on earth with this one, but there are good parts, and I hate it less than I did in between. Let me know what you think down in the comments, and oh, the doorbell. Definitely not a stock sound effect. So I hope The Exorcist is here. What? A do-it-yourself exorcism? That's the last time I'm ordering my exorcism from Craigslist. Be gone, demon. Be gone. Well, now that that is solved, there's just one thing left for me. Thank you very much for watching. Perhaps give me that like, subscribe, ring that bell to see the next video. I really appreciate your coming. See you next time, and goodbye.